initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, a.k.a. Derringer. Today is Sunday, April 28th, and you're listening to episode 206 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. So honestly, I don't want to give it away, but I mean, the past day or a couple days, all I've been doing is playing Planetside 2 because of the DirectX 11 and the NS Operative stuff that's come out. I've got some concerns about the NS Operatives overall. I guess I'll go into those a little bit more when I dive into the show itself. But otherwise, that's all that's been going on with me, except for I don't know if this is something some people are interested in or not, but I want to point people out to. And I don't know how much into board game type stuff a lot of you guys are, but if you haven't seen the most recent Humble Bundle, which has about 8 or 9 more days to go at this recording, they've got some of my favorite board games as video games available via Steam. I mean, at the dollar level, you can unlock a game like Gloom, which is a really awesome game, or Love Letter, which is also a really good game. I mean, if you pay more than the average, which is $8.80, you can get Pandemic and Carcassonne and Ascension. Pandemic and Ascension are ones that I love playing as well. But the big one for me was at the $12 level. If you pay that, you can unlock the digital edition of Scythe. I play the board game edition of Scythe a lot. You can also unlock the Obsidian edition of Pathfinder Adventures as well. That's another board game that I love playing. So, again, I don't know if a lot of you are interested in stuff like this, and obviously I get nothing from Humble Bundle by even mentioning this, but I want to throw you guys that way to check it out if you're interested in board games or stuff like that. And again, all this stuff unlocks on Steam, so it's stuff that you can play online. Other than that, what's in store for this week's show? Well, obviously, I teased it a few moments ago when I said DirectX 11 and NSO, but obviously, it's the first big patch day that we've been waiting for since they teased it not that long ago. So yeah, DirectX 11 update, NS Operatives update. But in addition to that, there's a ton of other stuff in this update. New continents alerts, special bundles for the next few weeks, a new code for a free gun, plus much, much more. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. So like I said, first up, and primarily this is what I'm going to talk about all this week, is the April 24th PC game update. And this starts off with comments about performance. Nick also pushed out a producer's letter just before this went live, talking about all the same stuff as well. And the devs in this game update posted that they know performance has been the biggest pain point of Planetside 2 over the game's entire lifetime. And they've been attacking that problem from many different angles throughout the past years and years before that. So, no, if you're someone who's been playing this game since 2012 when it went live, like I have, or even earlier than that, you know, even the group of devs prior to the existing group of devs were always working on performance optimization. Many of you remember OMFG, Operation Make Faster Game. I mean, that was a big push for optimization and stuff like that a long time ago. They do say that they've made significant strides, but there wasn't anything except for a big major overhaul to do before they could do anything else. So they decided to go the DirectX 11 route. And so here it is, April 24th. It has gone live. DirectX 11 has now arrived for Planetside 2. But not only that, Adding DirectX 11 to Planetside 2 gives them better tools to diagnose and address performance concerns in the future as well. Note that Drew has commented many times about the new tools that they have, which allows them to dig in and find issues and correct them much faster. So, I mean, that's a plus for DirectX 11 as well. They go on to say that players on all types of hardware should receive notable performance increases, due in no small part to this update. Also, a number of third-party software used by the game and their own internal Forge Light engine have also been updated. And they've also restructured the way assets are packed and encrypted in the game itself. So what this means is not only a more performant game, but also smaller file sizes. And what they also say is more security to kind of help against people who want to cheat within the game of Planetside 2 as well. And I think it's really big for that performance on all types of different hardware. So they're talking about people even with really old PCs who were stuck playing on low and getting terrible frame rates constantly. It's going to be a big FPS increase for pretty much everyone playing Planetside 2. I mean, right now for myself, I had decent frames before. You know, I dipped down to the 30s and 40s in some fights when they were really large. I mean, I'm sitting in the 80s right now all the time. No matter where I'm playing right now, I'm always seeing about 80 FPS everywhere that I go, which is great. I have no complaints with this update at all. So if you're someone who listens to this podcast but doesn't play Planetside 2 anymore, and the main reason you don't play Planetside 2 anymore was because of performance issues, now's the time to download Planetside 2 again and jump back in and play it a little bit more. A lot of people are coming back to the game. Why shouldn't you? Now, the second big addition, like I said, is the Nanite Systems Operatives. So they have entered the battlefield, so to speak. They are robots within Planetside 2. It is the new fourth faction of Planetside 2. They're currently only available to players with an active all-access membership only. Someone like me, I have a NSO operative already in the game. His name is Derringer MK3. Very robotic name that I've been saving for a little while until these guys went live. So if you see Derringer MK3 in game, you know that it's me. Now, each time an operative moves to a new continent, they'll be assigned to fight for whichever faction currently has the lowest population. So again, this makes them truly a fourth faction player, because no matter where they go, they're going to be pushed onto the lowest pop faction automatically. And note that you will not be reassigned a different faction until you actually travel to a new continent. So when you log in for the first time, whatever continent you're on, you're going to be locked into a faction. And there's a little symbol in the lower right-hand side of your screen, which tells you what faction that you're playing for. The operatives also have access to nanite system weaponry only, and they also have their own special directive lines that are available for completion, which I don't know that I like too much, but it's because I want to unlock some of the weapons, and I really play engineer more than anything else. But if you're going to be playing an NS operative and want to unlock a lot of these directives deeper, you've got to play every class, but that's just me. The NSO characters do not have equivalents for faction-specific items, so they do say to be cautious when purchasing bundles that offer items for multiple factions. But again, most people playing an NSO right now already have characters on all the other factions that they play. Also, currently, NSO players cannot pull a max, they cannot pull a main battle tank, and they cannot pull an Empire-specific fighter. Obviously, maxes are faction specific. Main battle tanks are also faction specific. There's no NS main battle tank, and the ESFs. There is no NS ESF at this current point. The max one, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a change to that one, and maybe force players to only use NS weapons. I mean, I do know that the maxes obviously get access to bursters, and those are NS weapons. They also get access to Gorgons. Those are NS weapons. And I'm guessing that right now we don't get access to it because there's no real true anti-infantry weapon on the maxes right now, but maybe we'll see something like that change in the future. Now, NSO characters can be in an outfit, even when they're playing for a different team, and they can join and lead squads for whichever faction they're currently fighting for. Now, of course, this does bring some issues in if you're in X outfit, and then you want to play with those people, and you go to whatever continent they're on, and they're playing the Overpop faction. You could be dropped, and you will be dropped into the Underpop faction, and therefore might not be able to play with your outfit members. That being said, I'm curious if we might get a full NSO outfit at some point. That might be interesting. Now, if an NSO character does leave a continent and is contracted to fight for a different faction, they will be removed from their current squad. If they stay in the faction that they are, they won't be removed. For the time being, NSO characters do not have access to the tutorial, and they do not have access to Coal Tier. Beyond that, they operate similarly to a character from any other empire. They have the same health pools, same movement speeds, same hitboxes, same animations, and they die and respawn just like any other soldier. Now, the Coal Tier portion of this is very interesting because obviously if a continent is overpopped, people get thrown onto Coal Tier, but it sounds like the NSO characters will never get put onto Coal Tier. So this could certainly be one way to make sure that you're never locked out of playing on at least the continent that is open. So the notes for the NS operatives, the devs say that the designs had a few targets. First, obviously, they want to address population balance without having to rely on a faction queue, which they don't feel is either effective or fun. And they also wanted to celebrate and reward players who have active memberships. Clearly, there's no better way to do that than giving a robotic soldier that only you have access to. And finally, they wanted to invigorate some of the Planetside 2 lore. The release of the NS Operatives is the true beginning of a larger story arc surrounding Nanite Systems and some hero characters we may or may not have heard of just yet. So it will be interesting to see what they're going to bring into the lore with these, because the way on the loading screen when you first when you first create an NS operative character, it does say specifically that these robots are being piloted by people who are basically mercenaries and sell their services out to the highest bidder, or in this case, whichever faction needs the help the most. So there definitely could be some interesting lore surrounding the people actually piloting these NS operatives. Next up, let's talk about some of the other changes that were brought in with this game update. First, the continent states you should no longer receive a blank alert reward notification box from winning, losing, tying, whatever. Warp gates also will block projectiles from being fired from outside of them into them. And also, when a faction locks a continent, their victory anthem is going to play. The big change to continent states, though, is the new continent event, which is the refine and refuel event. And this has been added to the pool for every continent currently. At the start of the event, 2 refineries are going to spawn toward the center of the map, and there will always be 2 available on the map at all times. You're tasked with harvesting cordium and depositing it into one of the refineries. When a refinery is full, it's going to take off into orbit, and a new one will spawn at another location. The faction who has refined the most cordium will earn a 20% nanite discount on sunderers and ant spawns at the end of the event. And later on, they're going to unlock a special vehicle variant upon victory. This is, as we know, the Wasp, the Valkyrie variant that people will be able to fly around. Clearly, this is not in a final state for it to be available, but that's what we'll ultimately get for winning the Refine and Refuel event. Next, let's talk about unstable warp gates. They are no longer being used the alert system to stabilize itself. Instead, it's going to happen immediately once certain triggers are met. So basically, when a new continent opens, it's going to start as always. It's going to be unstable, and it's going to check for population every 2 minutes. The stability states now have 3 tiers, as it was prior to this update. unstable double lane, and fully stabilized. So you've got the single lane, a double lane, and fully stabilized. Those are the 3 different states. And these changes should ensure that continents with adequate populations are quickly stabilized to help move players around the map, along with the new spawn revamp, which I'm going to talk about next, and the joint combat changes, which are coming at a later date. So let's talk about that spawn system revamp. I've teased it a few shows ago, but clearly they've made some larger revisions to the system, and the goal is to help filter players into more enjoyable fights, discourage overpop as it moves from base to base, as well as allow for more freedom to move around the map. Prior to this, they felt that it was really restrictive. So now it's going to work on a priority system with ideal spawn locations, or their definition of ideal locations, appearing first, and then additional spawn locations appearing after longer wait times. So what are those priority 1 spawn locations, which have the same default spawn timer we had prior to this? You're talking about the warp gate, the last spawn point that you used, any spawn beacons that your squad has put out, squad spawnable vehicles, other spawn points within your current region if that region is not overpopulated, and all allied regions adjacent to an enemy region with less than 12 players in it. So as you can see, they want you to always to be able to get to the warp gate, always to spawn where you just spawned, always to use a spawn beacon or a squad spawn vehicle, because obviously that's squad cohesion. The other spawn points in the current region if it's not overpopped, which is big. And the big one there is the allied regions adjacent to enemy territory with less than 12 players in it. So clearly that's to push you towards new fights. Now let's talk about the priority 2 spawn locations. These have an additional 15-second wait time. This is any spawn location in your current region if it is overpopulated. So you can see that's different than the priority 1. All allied regions with adjacent enemy territory with less than 96 players and aren't cut off from the lattice. And finally, outfit-owned regions that are not overpopulated and aren't cut off from the lattice. So as you can see, the cutoff portion from the lattice is very big in these priority 2 spawn locations. Next, the priority 3 spawn locations. These have an additional 30-second wait time added to them. These are any allied regions without enemy adjacency and aren't cut off from the lattice. And basically, these changes give players the ability to jump to low-populated regions to start moving down lanes with less occupancy. It also prohibits players from redeploying directly into overpopulated regions from outside of them, and slows down the respawn time in overpopulated regions when your last used spawn point is destroyed. So that's your 3 priority spawn locations and why they made them the way they did. Now, they do say that there is some flexibility in the system, so they can loosen up on these or clamp down a little harder on them based on how things shake out on live. So they will be watching what we do with these priority spawn locations. I can assume that if it doesn't cut down on the zerging and overpopulating in certain areas, we'll see changes to these sooner rather than later. Next, we did have some UI changes as well. You'll note if you log in that the login and character create screens have been updated with a new look, which I'm not going to lie, they look a little blurry. And I don't know if there's something in the works to kind of clean them up and make them look crisper. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. You can also now choose your vehicle's loadout when spawning a vehicle from the map screen, which is a big one. Obviously, you could change your infantry class, not infantry class, but your loadouts between an infantry class from the spawn screen, but now you can also do it from the vehicle spawn screen on the map as well. That's a huge change. They also did a lighting pass on character and equipment viewed in the UI windows to make them more true to gameplay. We can also now adjust the color and transparency of no deploy zones and orbital strike map effects on the interface tab of general settings. When a character logs in for the first time, they will automatically be placed into an open squad, which is kind of cool. That happened to me when I created my NSO character. Also, players battle rank 15 and lower will prioritize placement into open mentor squads. You can opt out of that in the general settings options. And finally, leadership and directives lines are now nested under the strategic directive tree. Now let's move on to the various infantry changes, because quite a few weapons got some changes as well. Starting off with the Amaterasu, this is the NSX knife. The quick melee and wielded melee damage was increased to 450. Its wielded range damage changed from 200 at 1 meter out to 143 at 50 meters to 450 at 2 meters and 143 at 50. So you can see it does a lot more damage a little bit closer. The wielded range damage resistance type was changed from small arms to melee. The wielded scope sway has been removed, and minor per shot recoil has been added instead. And the Amaterasu will now always fire its blade while it's wielded. And really the only changes for this is they're looking to make it more competitive with other knife options, and they removed some of the annoyances that they felt were related to its use. Next, the NSX Naginata. This is the NSLMG. They reduced its vertical recoil minimum to 0.4 and reduced its recoil maximum to 0.6. And really, this adjustment is to increase accuracy of both first shot and sustained fire and make the recoil a little bit easier to compensate for. Next, the NSX Tengu. This is the NS submachine gun. The hybrid laser attachment's hit fire pellet spread and cone of fire buff was increased to 33%. Its magazine size was increased to 22, and its ammo capacity was increased to 176. And the goal of this was to make the Tengu more usable and bring the hybrid laser attachment into a more competitive position versus extended magazines. Next, the Horizon. This is the new VS carbine. Its max damage per pellet was increased to 56. Its max damage with capsulate ammo was increased to 84. You can no longer earn the wrong kill ribbons with it. And really the changes to the damage per pellet and the damage with capsulate ammo was because they felt that there were enough drawbacks to it that they didn't need to keep it on the lower, more reserved damage tier. So look for the Horizon to do a bit more damage. I've been using the Horizon a lot on my VS Engineer, and I did feel like it wasn't hitting that hard, especially with the fan out of the pellets. So I'll be curious to play around, as I haven't had a chance to play around with it since the change, but I'm definitely curious. Next, the Kindred, which is the TR carbine. It got the same, it was earning the wrong kill ribbons. That's been fixed. The Hardlight Barrier received a new look. And moving on to Player Studio, there were quite a few different Player Studio things added, but the big one was the Doku's Black Ops infantry armor sets and helmets. They're bundled together with each faction sold separately. And the helmets are common pool available to all empires and come in 2 different styles. They look really good. And then finally in this update, there were some fixes, changes, miscellaneous stuff. The big one is Pixinal's Reflection, Felix the Lion's TR Scout mission, and Isunami's Waiting for Orders loading screens were all added to the rotation, which is kind of good. They did finally remove all the shinies from the EverQuest 20th anniversary. Also, the tree is gone as well. They made some changes to the Ecto Blaster, so that now counts toward generic sidearm directives. That's a plus. And also, players in the loading screen should no longer appear until their loading screen is dropped. Hopefully, this will be the solution to the players showing up after something is destroyed and being stuck in a forever loading screen and not being able to move, not being able to be killed, and being generally annoying. So that is the entire game update. It was a hell of an update. And there are some other things to talk about, like bundles, double XP, a code, and some other buggy stuff. But before I get into that, we're going to do this week's Veteran's Voice with Romus. So take it away, Romus.
Eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking. That's enough of that, Bloggins. The recruits are here for some valuable info. With the new alert type, there's a new rise in convoys. Ants everywhere, as far as the eye could see. And of course, this means hotshot pilots trying to put an end to your Burt Reynolds-style adventure. There's a couple things you should know so you can stick it to Smokey. First off, the obvious. Grab some anti-aircraft weaponry. Filling an ant with rocket-wielding heavies is my personal favorite, but usually less than practical. I recommend Rangers instead. They're easy to aim at targets flying at you, not to mention the flak explosions will usually distract the pilot, prevent them from seeing you, and maybe shoot them down. Next up, there's those old Bugs Bunny cartoons where he's fighting up against a bull. Time for some monkey see, monkey do. Driving straight at an ESF pilot will force them to nose down. This means you'll spend less time in their crosshairs, meaning less time for them to blast you. Continually driving at your attacker sounds like an exercise in failure, but it gives your gunner more time to scare them off. And there's always the chance they'll fly into the ground, being more greedy than a fat kid at a cake-eating contest. And finally, something that I learned from our friend Monty, how not to be seen. They can shoot, but they can't hit if they can't see you. The cloak module and stealth options are always great. You might get there with less cordium, but it's better than getting blown up and being a bloody smear on the highway. Now get back out there, soldier. We need that cordium. On the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. Your ears aren't bleeding, bloggins. You're full of horse shit.
Romus, I never knew you had such a beautiful singing voice. But besides that, I didn't go too deep into the Refine and Refuel event when I covered it because I knew Romus was going to do some tips and tricks regarding the event. So thanks for bringing that to everybody, Romus. And don't knock your singing. It was actually very nice. But let's talk about our second topic, and this is the ready-to-reenlist bundles that were announced along with this week's game update. So basically, if you are living under a rock and haven't read stuff, I guess that's probably why you listen to the show. Daybreak Games announced a bunch of bundles and sales to go for the next 3-4 weeks to encourage people that are coming back to Planetside 2 to kind of get a whole bunch of stuff at some pretty good costs. Now, the first one isn't starting until April 29th, but that's probably when the majority of you are listening to the show. And they're going to start by offering 40% off all camo within the game. And then they're also going to have the Reenlistment Bundle Alpha, which is only going to cost $499 Daybreak cash, so $5. You're going to get access to the MGR-S1 Gladius, the MG-S1 Jackal, and the VES Canis. These are the NCTR and VS submachine guns. You're also going to get the Angular camo for NCTR and VS, and you're also going to get a 7-day squad experience boost. Now, I mean, that is a friggin' amazing value. I mean, those 3 SMGs alone they cost $699 Daybreak cash each. So, I mean, those are 3 $7 guns. So, I mean, right there, that's $21 worth for $5. Plus, on top of that, you get a camo, and you also get a 7-day squad experience boost. This is the best deal out of all of them that I can tell. Well, I mean, they're all good deals, but this is a pretty damn good one. Next, and this is going to be running April 29th through May 5th. Like I said, it's the first week. Then we move on to the second week. They're going to be offering 40% off all vehicle cosmetics. And then they're going to be selling the Reenlistment Bundle Bravo. And this one's going to cost $999 Daybreak cash, so $10. You're going to get the Pillager, the Starfall, and the Buzzard. These are all the TRVS and NC new flash weapons. You're also going to unlock the NS50 Gorgon, both the left and right-hand max machine guns. You're also going to unlock the M202 Worm. That's the wing-mounted heavy machine gun for the Reaver, Mosquito, and the Scythe. You're also going to get the Interference Profile banner and, again, a 7-day squad experience boost. This is a good way for those of you who didn't get access to the Pillager, Starfall, and Buzzard. I mean, the total value of this is almost $54, and you're getting it for $10. So certainly, I said the last one was the best one, probably because it's the cheapest one, but I feel you get a lot of good stuff out of it. Again, this is going to run from May 6th through May 12th. Then the third week, this is going to run from May 13th through May 19th. You're going to get 40% off infantry cosmetics. And then they're also offering the Reenlistment Bundle Charlie. This one's going to cost $19.99 Daybreak cash, so $20. You're going to unlock the MGR L1 Promise, the MGL1 Watchmen, the VEH Maw. These are the NC light machine guns, the LMGs. You're also going to unlock the Saron HRB, the Enforcer, and the Vulcan. These are the VSNC NTR Mag Rider or Harasser secondary weapons. You're also going to get the Darkstar, Havoc, and Sigma Max armors for VSTR and NC. You're also going to get the Scanline Ambush camo. You're going to get the Grid Smoke Profile banner, and again, a 7-day squad experience boost. And maybe this one, I mean, you can argue that this one's the best deal. I mean, again, it only costs $20. It's basically a $100 value for $20. Not too bad at all. And then the final one for week 4, this is going to run May 20th through May 26th. You're going to get 40% off vehicle weapons, and this is the Reenlistment Bundle Delta. It costs $39.99 Daybreak cash, so $40. You're going to get the Centuri armor set, the Crimson armor set, and the Lambda armor set. These are for VSTR and NC, and it's for all classes. You're going to get the Halberd G and the Hornet G. Those are the gold variants of both of those. You're going to get the Astral Camo, which Rel teased last week. It looks really cool. You're going to get the Anomaly background. You're going to get 9 deluxe implant packs, and you're going to get one month heroic boost. Again, that's all for $40. It's a $362 value. I mean, for $40, that's a pretty damn good value. I don't have any of those things. I don't know that I'd wear any of the armors or anything like that, but for $40, plus to get a 1 month heroic boost out of it, I mean, heroic boosts only come around once a year, in this case, twice a year. Granted, it's only 1 month. I wish it was a 6 month or a 12 month, but I guess we can't look a gift horse in the mouth. Those are all your bundles. Keep an eye out for them. They only last a week and then they're gone, but they do seem to be getting better and better as we roll on through them. And again, if you're somebody who's just coming back to Planetside 2 and has been gone for a while, this is going to unlock you a bunch of awesome guns in the game that you might not have seen before, making it definitely worth it if you ask me. Let's move on to our third topic this week. And that third topic is just basically to talk about double XP and a shiny new weapon that we're going to have. So going on right now as you're listening to this, double XP is going on. And it's all to honor the New Soldier game update that has just come out. So basically, it began this weekend. It's going on today. And today, Sunday, April 28th, if you're playing, if you're a Patreon member listening to this show, it's quadruple XP for members right now. I've been playing my ass off today. So again, this is going from double XP is going from Sunday, April 28th through Sunday, May 5th for all players on all platforms. So both PC and PS4. And don't forget, it's double XP this weekend. Again, it's going to be gone by the time most of you are listening to this show. But the bigger news on this is the shiny new weapon aspect of this. So if you go in game and redeem the following code, NSOPS 2019, that's NSOPS 2019, you will unlock the NSX Tengu Platinum version for all of your characters. No matter what faction, NS Operatives included, you fight for. And you can actually go right into your Daybreak account and redeem it. So if you're listening to this, you can just log right in on your phone or whatnot if you're not in-game or whatever. Or you can actually go in-game and type in NSOPS 2019 and get it as well. Now, PS4 players, NSOPS 2019 does not work for you. Don't use it. You're not going to get anything if you do. It will be made available for the PS4 at a future date, they say. They don't give an exact date, though. But again, double XP. It's going to be going on for at least the week while you're listening to this show, and then a little bit longer after that. So by the time I record next week's show, there'll be a lot of max level NS operatives thanks to this double XP and quadruple XP. But with that, let's move on to our fourth and final topic this week. And that last topic has to do with recursion, because there are many bugs in Planetside 2 right now with the DirectX 11 launch. The devs are aware of it. They want you to go and use the /bug command in game, explain what happened so that they can fix them. There's also the DBG issue tracker that you can go and log issues on. People are posting bugs to Reddit. There's a full bug thread. Certainly use every avenue that you can to report bugs in Planetside 2. But also people noticed pretty quickly that the recursion overlays are no longer working. And maybe the recursion overlays don't relate to a lot of people in game. Not everybody uses them. I use them. I like them. I'm going to miss them. But I know a lot of people use the crosshair overlay with recursion and stuff like that. Basically, I can't explain it well enough, so I'm going to just read to you what Exploding Fist wrote on the Recursion forums. And he writes that nothing is in the works this time, as it would be a complete rewrite of the overlay UI code for DirectX 11. Consider the overlay non-operational as of this update. This may change at some point in the future, but it is not being worked on at this time. It isn't that we no longer play, nor is the stat tracker itself going away. We simply don't have the time to completely rewrite the code to integrate with PS2 to generate the overlay in DirectX 11 at this point. We've done quite a few fixes over the past few years where required, but this isn't a small fix. If it was open sourced, is this something you would be willing to work on? If there is a developer that has the experience to do this integration, that has the free time and motivation to do such a project, then we might be open to providing them with access to our code repo and working with them to get this working again. I wish this was a simple fix, and I personally will miss having it as well. Between having DX9 with the overlay and having DX11 without the overlay, I'd choose the latter. That said, both would be nice. So again, I felt it was important to read to you exactly what Exploding Fist said, because recursion is not working right now. If it was a crutch for you, sorry. If you loved it because it was just good at what it did, like I did, then it's a sad day indeed that this is no longer going to be working. And I know a lot of streamers are sad that this isn't going to be working anymore either. But there is a glimmer of hope. You know, Exploding Fist says that it's not that they're never going to do it. They just don't have time right now. And if you are someone who knows how to program and generate the overall in DirectX 11, maybe you should reach out to Exploding Fist and see if this is something that you can help with. So again, this is the sad part of DirectX 11 coming out for Planetside 2. It can't be all, kittens and roses, unfortunately. But with that, let's move on to housekeeping this week.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
So unfortunately, no emails, no voicemails, and I'm not surprised because all of you are in-game playing. Why would you be communicating with me when you can be playing Planetside 2? But that's okay. That's going to be it for this week's show. How can you get in touch with the show? As always, your first stop should be my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. You can also email me at instantactionshow@gmail.com. If you do, I'll read it and I'll respond. You can also call me and leave me a voicemail at 347-4VM for PS2. Those digits are 347-486-4772. And please also follow the show on Twitter at InstActPodcast. But in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. But finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that Join Combat, formerly known as Instant Action button. Derringer out.
Get your arms combined.